Thank you, Dave. Tonight, Max will discuss the anti-Christian bias of veganism in the environmental movement and how it parallels the anti-Semitic bias in Germany during the 1800s, which ultimately led to the Nazi regime and the Holocaust. Please welcome Max tonight with his speech, Why Militant Vegans and Nazis Have a Lot in Common.
Thanks for the intro, Suzanne, and thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests, for being here tonight. There is one thing I can predict to eaters of meat. The world of the future will be vegetarian. Does anyone want to guess who said that? Adolf Hitler. Now, many of you might not be aware of this, but Hitler had plans that if the Nazis were to have won World War II, he planned to convert everyone to veganism. So, well, thankfully, they didn't win the war, or else today we might all be vegetarians. Today I want to talk about veganism, which is a strict form of vegetarianism. And I'm going to compare some of the arguments that are used today in support of veganism and show some of the anti-Christian nature of those views, and also how they parallel some of the anti-Semitic beliefs that the Nazis had against them. Now, just to give you a definition, veganism is the practice of abstaining from the use of animal products, and a follower of either the diet or the philosophy is called a vegan. There are many reasons people might become vegan, and you'll see it's on Netflix today. There's all kinds of documentaries promoting it, and it's becoming very popular. And some of the main reasons that are given, and I'll kind of split vegans up into three different groups, and some vegans might fall into one or all three of these groups. The first would be diet or nutrition. They say a vegan diet is more healthy and that animal products are bad for you, and for instance, animal products might lead to cancer and things like that. The second reason is ethical. They oppose the use of animal products for any purpose based on moral grounds. And the third reason is environmental. They believe that the industrial farming of animals is damaging to the environment and unsustainable. And I might actually throw in a fourth category here, which would be militant vegans. And these are vegans that would use violence to convince you to conform to their beliefs. And I do want to make a caveat here tonight. Some of the things I'm going to be talking about can be very explosive, and I understand the sensitive nature of them. So I want to explain that I'm not trying to pigeonhole all vegans into one group or be calling all vegans, comparing them to Nazis. I'm only comparing certain beliefs they have and seeing how they might be somewhat similar to prior beliefs of early German Green Movement. So, of those three groups that I just mentioned, I'm not really going to talk tonight about diet or nutrition, as Pramila talked about diet tonight. So that's a topic for another day. I do believe that the vegan diet is nutritionally deficient, but I'm not going to be getting into that today. But the first point I do want to talk about is the ethics and morality. And so ethical vegans are opposed to the use of animals for any purpose, including food. And you may have heard of groups like PETA, which is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They promote veganism on college campuses, and you might also call them People for the Equal Treatment of Animals, as in treating animals as equal to humans. Actually, I have a book here that I meant to bring up. This is a book on animal rights movement, and on here, on the cover is a quote which says, "A rat is a pig, as a dog is a boy." And this is a quote by Ingrid Newkirk, who is the founder and president of PETA. And by that, means a rat is a pig, as a dog is a boy. She's putting rat, pig, dogs on an equal level with humans. And you might not be aware, but back in the early 1800s, there was a man by the name of Arthur Schopenhauer. He was an animal rights guru. And he thought the Jews' views on nature should be expelled. And he was very upset at the Jews' view of nature, and he had a term for them which he called the odor of the Jews. And what by this is he meant animal cruelty, because he didn't believe in the Passover rituals that the Jews partook in. And Hitler could quote Schopenhauer verbatim. And in fact, one of the first laws that Hitler passed when the Nazis were in power was an animal protection law, which put severe restrictions on hunting and experimentation on animals. They also had a plethora of laws about exactly how animals were to be transported, very delicate rules on how the animals were supposed to be transported. Now, it was no mistake then that the Nazis rounded up the Jews in cattle cars, brought them into concentration camps, which were set up like stockyards. So in fact, they treated them worse than animals. And this was done on purpose, because this was retribution for how the Jews treated animals. Now, another similarity, another main point that I mentioned earlier was the environmental reasons. And I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to touch very briefly on this. But vegans claim today that industrial farming is bad because we're using up all of our free space. Animals are eating up all crops that should be safe for humans, and they're taking up all our land. We're running out of room, and it's unsustainable. We're running out of space. Well, the Nazis also had a very similar view, and actually that was one of the main objectives of World War II, was to get more environmental living space. It's called Lebensraum, living space. And Hitler had very similar views as what we hear today about animals taking up all the land. And the Nazis were also the first to implement comprehensive land use planning laws, which we're all familiar with today in Oregon, which is actually the first state to implement comprehensive land use planning laws in the United States, something that we now call sustainable development. This came from Nazi Germany. So I mentioned that veganism and Nazism are anti-Christian, and so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what the Christian view is. I haven't really explained that. The Bible teaches that man is created in God's image, which means man is both rational and moral being. These are characteristics which animals do not have. This comes from Genesis 1, where God gives man dominion over animals and tells us to subdue and fill the earth. Hitler called Genesis 1 Jewish nonsense. Much of environmentalism and veganism today is nothing more than a rebranded German romanticism, which eventually led to Nazism and the Holocaust. When it comes to ethics and animal rights, they believe that animals are equal to humans, or you would put them above humans. When it comes to the environment, they believe we're running out of resources, that nature should be left alone as the world is overpopulated. The Bible teaches that man has dominion over creation, and that we are to subdue and fill the earth. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter? Maybe you're not a Christian, maybe you don't hold the same beliefs as I do. But when you put nature as either equal to above man, and you take that to its logical conclusion like Hitler and the Nazis did, you end up with humans being treated like animals, and animals being treated like humans. And if those beliefs continue today, as I believe they are with the push for veganism, I don't doubt we could end up with something as horrible or worse than the Holocaust happening again.
Thank you, Max. You know, when I was a child, I remember asking my mother, what would happen if Hitler had won the war? And her answer was, we'd be speaking German. But she didn't tell me we'd be vegetarians too, so I was something new tonight. But